Not only do I get to follow a dummy, but the dummy got 2 minutes more than I get. So you want humility, that's humility. I am here as the culmination to deliver the summation. I would have to say that this weekend has been, in many respects, an intellectual vaudeville. With a playbill featuring mathematical wizardry, anthropological reflection, psychological deliberation, comic confessions, enacted monologues, the sociology of song, music, poetry, leading-edge scientific discoveries triggering formidable questions, many feel-good stories, as well as a fair degree of cognitive puzzlement. I admit to basking uninhibitedly in the right brain, left brain convergence that has marked this gathering, as it has defined my personal quest from even before the founding of the Entertainment Technology Center, a quest and a cohesion that is now the very underpinning of the ETC. This temporal lobe convergence, however, has also unleashed a temporal lobe reaction. Because there have been many times, more than a few times this weekend, that I have felt incredibly bipolar. Bipolar in as much as having experienced abnormally elevated moods akin to mania, with contrapuntal depressive episodes. I dare say I have experienced both euphoria and depression at the same time. This bout has been triggered by the effort of reconciling the contrasting emotions generated by what has been said, but also what has not been said, addressed, or debated. In the same way that the last video was out of sync, I too have felt that way at times. Incredible highs have given way to palpable lows. I confess that as soon as I start feeling good, I start feeling bad. And I wonder why. Perhaps it is the irony of the Medici effect, a family of beneficent visionary rulers and outright dictators and buffoons, a veritable yin and yang of dysfunctional relatives, all residing in my head. Then again, perhaps it is the admission, after years of denial, that I am, in fact, one of those piss puddle makers at the foot of the urinal. Are you happy now, Max? I confess that the old prostate just isn't what it used to be. As Billy Crystal acknowledged not too long ago, you realize something has gone terribly wrong when you find yourself pissing in Morse code. First Morse code, then dribbling. Where we go from here is just too depressing to fathom. This weekend, I find myself in Pontius Pilate's shoes asking, what is truth? What I heard repeatedly this weekend is that you have to ask that question in the plural. What are truths? Because there are, in fact, many. Thank you, Brenda, for bringing back memories and images of Timmy and Lassie, Bud and Flipper. I hated both of them. I grew up wanting to be one of the three sons because I lived in a veritable insane asylum of Italian-American angst, only to realize I would have been a serial killer if I was one of the three sons. But I do envy Timmy and Bud's ability to understand animal communication, because I've been listening to students for 30 years and I still don't know what they're saying. I am now content simply to help them formulate questions, as their questions frequently provide me with answers. Mickey, I still have shoeboxes filled with meaningful things, but I fully expect them to be thrown out once I'm gone. And you know, that's okay. If this weekend has resembled any kind of self-help association gathering, it would be people who realize they don't know very much anonymous. Finally, a group I want to join. My whole life, I have been akin with Groucho Marx in his belief that I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member. I'm home. I admit to being choked up and getting quite emotional watching the footage of the Homeless World Cup documentary. While doing so, sipping a $12 glass of wine. I slept last night in a room better suited for the Palace of Versailles. This room was so big it had his and her toilets. Meanwhile, the soccer players are thanking the Almighty simply for having a roof over their heads. I don't know, I find these contrasts disturbing. I mean, I'd rather be Gandhi than Al Gore. I still can't reconcile an environmentalist building a 20,000 square foot mansion, but maybe it's me. I found myself wondering at times why we weren't doing this conference in an urban school setting for an audience comprised of those very forces seemingly hell-bent on maintaining a status quo that no longer works in this country. But at least we're doing it in nature. You've got to be shitting me. This is nature. This place makes Central Park look like the freaking Amazon. My wife went for a walk yesterday. She said, everything is paved. I do think Green Day shouts it out best when they say, do you know your enemy? Compassion aside, there are enemies in the world. There are obstacles that we have to overcome. Other thoughts, Jimi Hendrix. I saw Jimi Hendrix play 3 times. The first time literally changed my life. Although when he flubbed the lyrics and pointed to Noel Redding and said, excuse me while I kiss this guy, I got very confused. I was young. I had just gone into the theater. The second time was a concert so transcendent that his manager, Chas Chandler, walked out of the concert hall and was quoted as saying, I don't know what occurred in there tonight, but it was spiritual. The third time I saw him, he stank. He was dead a month later. Now, I was never good at math, but I could see where 6 equals 60 equals 600 equals 6,000. And that it would add up if you were talking about, say, how 6 Americans consume as much food, energy, and resources as 60 Hondurans, or 600 Indians, or 6,000 Ethiopians. That's the kind of new math I like. And I have to admit, I am bothered that speaking of God still seems to require an implicit apology. And I, for one, am tired of apologizing for being a deist. I extend a very special thank you to Kathy Humphreys, Elizabeth Gilbert, and Christine Astorino for mentioning the big guy. And it's funny how mentioning the big guy often comes with what we also refer to as passion. There was a lot of passion here this weekend. Marty Schiff showed us passion. And I always find magic to be, well, magical. And if all urban planners could convey the facts the way Vivian Loftness did, we might actually enlighten the body politic into making the sacrifices necessary to not only sustain our quality of life, but to export it to the world without bankrupting the planet. One of my favorite television celebrities is Pee Wee Herman. Pee Wee Herman would proclaim at the start of every Pee Wee's Playhouse, one of the greatest shows ever to be on television, what the word of the day was. Well, the word for yesterday was clearly trillions. It's amazing how much play that word has gotten of late, a prominence directly correlated to the new depths of our country's deficit. Another topic not discussed this weekend, but a number that stands to cripple our children's future as menacingly as any virus or germ. Obesity was mentioned, and I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the conference organizers for doing something about obesity by limiting the amount of food available at last night's dinner. Remember, I say this with love, okay? And while we are at it, what in God's name was that white stuff? I figured, what the hell, we're in the woods, 3 bears, it must be porridge. When I was in the service, we had something called shit on a shingle. And it looked like that, and I'm done. Luis, I am so happy we are digitizing old books. But lately, I have been unable to purchase even the simplest goods online because of an inability to type a CAPTCHA correctly. Personally, I think you should rename them gotchas, because they sure seem intent on driving people like me insane. I have now taken to having groups of staff members assemble around my computer so they can witness exactly what it is I am typing before it gets rejected. And with all due respect, I beg to differ that all master degrees are useless. I have the world knocking down my door because we do have a master's degree befitting the 21st century, and the world's young people are indeed beating a path to our door. So some of them do work. Laura says that to ask for what you want, the last video we heard. Well, Laura, I've got a message for you. I have been asking for what I want for 27 years of marriage. But my wife still won't talk dirty to me. So, Laura, it sometimes doesn't work. My wife's gone, by the way. Other things that have somewhat bothered me. We've come together to celebrate the need for divergent thinking. Yet the presumption seems to be that we are all liberal Democrats. We are not. I, for one, would like both parties to go away. Slavish adherence to a presumed political ideology has given Pittsburgh a city government most of us recognize as a joke. A sad but potentially dangerous joke, as the recent proposal to tax college students has revealed. Nothing like biting the hand that feeds you. I voted for Doc. But it would really pain me to think of these past 2 days as an intellectual ballot box where we came, we voted, and we walked away. These past 2 days can only have meaning if we leave here resolved to return to the trenches of our agony and our ecstasy, because you can't have one without the other. I discovered years ago that the only thing I wanted to be anymore in life is wrong. I want nothing more than for human interaction to tear down the biases, the prejudices, the cynicisms that have accumulated over the past 56 years. This weekend did some of that, but I remain cautious. Tearing down the Berlin Wall was easy compared to tearing down the walls of any ideology that believes it has all the answers. We can't admit ignorance, yet claim to have all the answers. We must learn from each other. And I admit that TED still resembles traditional school in too many ways for my own predilections. But if we as a group commit to anything, it should be to fight narcissism of any kind among ourselves. We must always lead by example. We must recognize that the greatest agent for change is a whining child. I worked in Russia for 4 years right after the fall of communism and realized that that was a quality of life revolution. Everyone in this room is about quality of life. Elizabeth Gilbert was very honest when she connected creativity and suffering. Personally, I think the key is to suffer without being a victim. Trick suffering into becoming creativity. That's magic. I think we have all felt like choir members this weekend. But from this moment forward, the Mass is over. The sermons now cease. We go a cappella from here. We go forth to our respective homes, businesses, schools, dare I say, our front lines. But what we bring with us is the recurring melody of this weekend, a weekend of hope and of recognition that we're really not alone in this struggle. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.